Hey everyone! As always, we start by thanking the #1 audience of the first active pedal video. Brazil! You guys are awesome! I don't know why they watched so much, but thank you. Seriously, thank you so much. So if you missed that first episode, that's where I built the entire structure of the active pedal. A powerful motor, a compact design, and enough immersion to make your foot think it's in a real race car. Basically, the full recrafting experience. But like every DIY and open source project, it's not perfect. It worked amazingly well, but it also had a few, let's call them character building problems. Some bugs, some quirks, some moments where the pedal decided it had its own personality. Still, it was one of the best simulator projects I've ever built, and I was genuinely proud of the V3 version. But now we go further. This new V6 board, developed by CHR Gree, the mastermind behind the DIY sim racing FFB pedal project, fixes a lot of the issues from my first build and pushes the whole system to another level. So today, we're upgrading. Alright, time to install the V6 board. And yes, this version comes with a few upgrades. We start with the input protection diode, the anti-reverse polarity guardian angel. And of course, it all started there. As usual, I reversed the polarity of the 36-volt input, as if it were my first board, and the diode saved me. Next comes a brand new and very important component, the DC load power controller for the stepper. This thing basically keeps the motor from turning into a space heater. Then we have the 5-watt resistor, something the previous board didn't have. The analog to digital signals converter. This one got a fantastic upgrade in terms of space. Finally, something that doesn't take up half the board. The TTL is the module that enables communication between the ESP and the motor, which isn't the same as before, but close enough that my brain still pretends it is. Removing this 0-ohm resistor isolates the analog section, resulting in a cleaner and more stable load cell reading, reducing noise and improving reading accuracy. And finally, the microcontroller. For me, the best upgrade of all, moving from the 32 to the ESP32S3. It thinks faster, it works more efficiently, and it has way more potential for this project. Basically, it's the version of the ESP that actually drinks coffee. So yeah, the V6 isn't just a small update, it's a serious evolution of the project. Huge thanks to CHRGRI, the developer behind this whole DIY sim racing FFB pedal system. He builds the brains, I build the chaos. Gotcha. It wasn't your internet. The pedal just pulled so much force that even YouTube choked. I wait in silence until your foot awakens me. I push back, I shape your braking, I turn pressure into intention. I'm the unseen force beneath every lap. What am I? Now it's time to disassemble the 3D printed structure of the Active Pedal V3. And this is where I start to discover all the fun surprises hidden inside. First problem, the worm gear bearing housings already had some play. Not much, just a little. Then the load cell support, also worn. Why? Because there wasn't enough space for the part to move freely, so it slowly wore down over time. A beautiful piece of engineering. But the worst part was the rear belt alignment system. The screws were pressing directly into the 3D printed plastic, under constant tension. And of course, the plastic said, "I can't take it anymore." It made enough holes to be considered ventilation. That's the reality of DIY projects and 3D printing. They work, they're amazing, but they also remind us that plastic isn't steel, especially when you treat it like it is. Next, let's take a look at the newly printed parts and compare them to the old V3 parts. Although the first 3D printed version of this project was already very robust, almost a year of use and nothing broke, I still decided to make some changes to increase the reliability of the entire system. We start with the main arm, the part that bears the most stress in the entire project. This part only needed minimal changes, because honestly, it was already quite robust. Next, we move on to the belt tensioner. This part received a slight redesign to make the tension smoother and more consistent. And finally, the problematic part. The part that holds the rear belt alignment bolts. This needed a significant upgrade. In the first version, the bolts pressed directly into the plastic, and over time, the pressure created holes. So I reinforced it with 2 metal pieces to withstand the pressure of the alignment bolts. These improvements not only solve the old problems, they make the whole design stronger, smoother, and ready for a V6 upgrade. All right, time to put this active pedal back together. We start with the worm gear rail. I press the bearing into place using my tiny improvised press at Precision Engineering. Next comes the stepper motor assembly. Pulleys on, belt on, and everything connected to the worm shaft. Then we install the upgraded alignment piece, the one where I added metal plates so the belt alignment screws don't dig directly into the plastic anymore. I tension the belt, and then I notice the wear on the other bearing of the worm shaft. It's very visible. That thing was begging for retirement. So I replace it and press the new one into the rear housing using the same mini press. With both bearings in place, I mount the rear worm shaft piece, making sure there's zero sideways play. Then I fine-tune the belt alignment. 2 alignment screws push one way, and I add 2 counter screws to push the opposite way. So nothing moves, nothing shifts, and the belt stays perfectly aligned. At least, that's the theory. Now the fun part, the new V6 board enclosure. I install the case, drop the board inside, tighten everything, and close it with a beautifully illustrated lid. Because aesthetics matter, even in a pedal you'll never see again. Then comes the pedal arm and the pedal itself, now with a 3-point adjustment system, so you can tune it to your foot's comfort level. Luxury. Load cell goes in, and finally I connect all the wires to the motor and the V6 board. Everything neat, clean, and organized, which is rare for me, so enjoy this moment. Okay, with the pedal fully rebuilt, it's time for the part that scares most people, sending the firmware to the microcontroller. But this time, we're doing it the conventional way, not the easy drag and drop from ESP web tools. To compile the code manually, we need a few tools: Git Bash, VS Code, the Platform IO extension, driver CH3433, and Python 3.8. This method lets you edit the code, customize it, break it, fix it, break it again, the full recrafting experience. In my case, I wanted to add 2 encoders so all pedals could be controlled by the same board. So I added the extra code, and now I have 2 more axes for the accelerator and clutch, both running on high precision encoders. I compile the code, and eventually it says success. Looks easy, but if you don't understand programming, you can destroy the code faster than you can say syntax error. But hey, believe in yourselves. You can do it. Inside the Platform IO folder, you'll find the files needed to flash the firmware. I'm using Git to send it to the ESP32S3 with this command. Before flashing, the board needs to enter bootloader mode. Hold boot, press reset, and release boot last. If you mess up the order, congratulations, you get errors. I send the firmware, switch the ESP32 to another USB port, and follow every step exactly, because if you skip one, you'll spend the rest of the day asking why nothing works. Then, I open the COM port to see the logs and run the next git command to watch what's happening inside the ESP. Everything worked perfectly. Another miracle. Now comes the calibration in SimHub. Let me tell you, I had a few errors here. To keep this video short, I'll leave the full troubleshooting on Patreon, where you can also find all the documentation, support the project, and join the Discord community so we can all help each other. In SimHub, you need the exact DLL from the release version of the firmware you compiled. I used the latest one available. Copy the DLL into the SimHub folder and open the program. If the pedal doesn't show up in the sidebar, activate it in the SimHub extensions menu. Select the correct COM port, adjust the parameters, and tune everything until it feels right for you. Some settings depend on personal preference. Just tweak them until your foot is happy. Finally reached the moment to test this thing in-game. I mounted the active pedal on the arcade rig and connected both USB ports of the ESP32S3. One for the COM port communication needed to configure the pedal and receive game data like ABS, and the other for the USB HID controller so the pedal actually works as an input device. There's another important detail. Some ESP32S3 boards only provide 5 volts as input, not output. But the ADS1220 needs 5 volts output to power up correctly. Otherwise, you'll see an error in the logs. The trick is simple. Solder the jumper on the board. Now we have pedal readings in SimHub. The force feels great. The adjustment works perfectly, and ABS feedback looks solid here in the simulation. You'll notice I had to invert the servo direction because the pulley system reverses the motion. Nothing dramatic, just a quick fix. All right, time to test it in-game. And of course, we're testing it in Assetto Corsa. And that wraps up this chapter of the Active Pedal project. You're seeing it here in demo mode, quietly flexing, pretending it's not about to ruin my lap times. If you enjoyed this project, consider stopping by my Patreon. I'm uploading all the behind-the-scenes details there. Every mistake, every fix, every "why is this smoking" moment. I'll also be sharing the 3D files there for anyone brave enough to build their own version. And if you want to hang out, ask questions, or follow the next upgrades in real time, join the Discord. It's still a bit messy, but so is every good project at the start. Thanks for watching, thanks for the support, and I'll see you in the next build.